Hey friend, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and today let's talk about what microphone or microphones you should buy for your vocals and for any instruments you're going to be recording. Now, microphones are arguably the most important part of your signal chain when recording. They are the thing that capture audio, and you need them if you're going to record anything in the real world. Obviously, a lot of virtual instruments, drum programs, all that stuff can be just done in the box, as we say. But if you're going to record vocals, for example, on any style of music, you need a microphone. And the question is, which microphone do you buy? Now, what I want to do in this video is give you specific recommendations and point you in a direction so you can go make music, spend as little as possible so you can keep more of your hard-earned money and get great results. Now, a quick lesson before we jump into specific microphones is this. There are a few different types of microphone, not brands, not models, but technology, microphone types. The most common are condenser microphones and dynamic microphones. And you also have ribbon microphones that are very popular. They're kind of coming back in style because they sound really cool. But let's talk about for vocals. The number one type of microphone that I'm going to recommend to you if you had to buy one for your vocals is a condenser microphone. But there are different types of condensers. There's small diaphragm, there's large diaphragm, there's ones with different polar patterns. They can get really confusing. At its basic, what I would recommend to you is a large diaphragm condenser microphone. You don't need multiple polar patterns, just a standard cardioid large diaphragm condenser. Okay, let me give you some examples of ones that are really, really great. I have something I call the $100 rule, and I've been talking about this for over 7 years, and this rule has gotten even more true since I first brought it out 7 years ago, and that is for $100 US, you can get a killer sounding studio microphone. There are so many microphones being made that are priced at the $99, $100, $120 range. Large diaphragm condenser microphones are a lot of them are knockoffs of the really expensive ones. A lot of them are coming out with new designs, but the point is they're all that standard studio vocal microphone, and they're all in that $100 price point, and they sound amazing. They all sound different, but they sound amazing. So the rule is for $100, that's the minimum threshold I think you need to make great sounding vocal recordings in your studio. Yes, you can spend more than that. Yes, I've spent more than that. But most of the microphones I own, I've collected lots of these $100 microphones. And let me give you a couple examples of ones I recommend. The audio-technica AT2020 is a classic. So many of my students use this microphone and it sounds great on their vocals. And audio-technica just makes great microphones. So they have bigger brothers, but the audio-technica AT2020 is a great start. Another one that I have used forever is the Behringer B1. Yes, I like Behringer stuff. I've written about them before. They're a great company. And the Behringer B1 is one of those microphones that just works. The only time it doesn't work is if you have a very, very bright voice. It can make it sound a little too harsh, but it has a nice presence boost that I think sounds really, really pleasing. It kind of mixes your vocal already. So by the time you pull it up with the rest of the tracks, it doesn't need a lot of EQ. It sits nicely in the mix. Plus it comes with a pad and a high pass filter built into the microphone. Another great option. In a previous video when I talked about how to build your home studio for $350, I recommended the Samson C01. This is a $79 microphone. It's really a mid-diaphragm condenser if you look inside, but it is a great sounding microphone. I've got a couple of these, recommend these. They sound better than they should. Hard to beat at $79. Now, there are a couple other microphones that I might recommend for you on your vocals that go a little bit past the $100 rule. One of my all-time favorites is the Rode NT1A or the NT1. They've done different variations of it over the years, whether it's the silver one or the black one. This is a no frills, but beautiful sounding microphone. They make them in Australia. Great company as well. They really stand behind their products. I have 2 or 3 of these, and I use them on every record that I make. One other microphone that has worked fantastic on my voice is the Blue Spark. I think these retail around $200. I got mine on sale for $100, and it is a very, very good sounding vocal microphone. It just works. It just sounds really, really great. Blue makes really nice high-end microphones, and they've sort of brought some of their design and technology into the lower market, and this sounds amazing. So those are all personal recommendations for vocals. The type is most important. Large diaphragm condenser. That's the kind that you would go for if you had to pick one microphone, because it's going to bring out the sensitivity in your voice. It's going to bring out the detail in your voice. It's what you expect out of a vocal microphone. But those specific brands are a great starting point. Lots of others that I didn't get to mention. A little bit more about that at the end of this video. Keep in mind, though, that dynamic microphones, things like what you see on stage, handheld microphones, a Shure SM58 or SM57 or any of these microphones, dynamic microphones are a totally different technology. They take a lot more air to move the coil over the magnet, which means that they're not as sensitive, but that also means they can handle louder signals. This is great still on vocals if you are screaming your face off, or if you have a very aggressive rap song where the vocals just are very aggressive and loud. Sometimes that can work great with a condenser, but you might overload it, or it might just be all over the place, whereas the dynamic microphone can handle it. Sounds great. It almost naturally compresses it. It does something a lot of these microphones where it puts it sort of in the mid-range where that vocal just sits beautifully. It will not overload. So this is great for heavy rock. This is great for aggressive rap. This is great for anybody that has a loud, hard to contain voice. So if you can get a second microphone for your vocals, get that large diaphragm first, but maybe consider something like a Shure SM57 or Shure SM58, technically the same innards inside the microphone. $99 brand new. You can get them cheaper used on eBay or anywhere else. These are a great alternative to your condenser. So if you have a client, you put up that condenser microphone, it's too much, grab the dynamic. Or if it's your voice and you just really want to change it up, grab the dynamic. I've sung into 57s on records and you would never know. They sound really, really good. And again, they kind of focus it in the mid-range, not as much body, not as much sizzle up the top, but it can sound great in a really, really dense mix. Now, let's briefly talk about other instruments because you might be recording more than just your vocals. You might be recording guitars, you might be recording pianos, you might be recording drums. Something to consider. The condenser microphone that we talked about for vocals can work great on almost anything else. Acoustic guitar, one of my favorite things is a condenser microphone, 1 to 2 feet away from the sound hole. I've done a whole video on this on my foolproof method for recording acoustic guitar. Check that out. And I love a large diaphragm condenser on the acoustic. It also can be great for drum overheads if you have lots of mics, so that looking down at the kit, or if you only have one microphone, it can still be great for your entire drum kit because it can capture cymbals well, it can capture a lot of the air off the toms, it can capture just the body and resonance of the kick and the snare. It can do a lot as long as it's not too close so you won't overload it. Now, condenser microphones have their flaws on really loud things like guitar amps, really close on snare drums, really close on kick drums, toms, things like that. They overload a little easier. If you have a pad or something on your preamp that can reduce the level or attenuate the signal, that can help, but still sometimes it overloads, and that's where dynamics come into play. Again, the Shure SM57 is always on my snare drum. I've done it on my toms. I've even done it on my kick drum. Another great kick drum microphone is the Shure Beta 52. A lot of good choices there, but dynamics like that can really handle the loud signal levels and they won't distort. It'll just capture the sound and the articulation and the transient beautifully in your mix. These Shure SM57s, these dynamic microphones are great on guitar amps. They can go right on the grill or an inch away, and they can handle a lot of the loud signal if you really want to crank up your tube amp, which you should if you want the best sound. But one other thing that's great about these dynamics on the guitar amps is, again, they sort of chop off some of the low end, chop off a little bit of the top end, which does what? It kind of EQs your guitar for you, because that guitar is going to really be a mid-range thing. So in the mix, if it's too beefy, you might have to chop off the low end and chop off some of the top end for that guitar to sit right in the mix when you're balancing everything. So an SM57 on the grill of your amp almost does that for you. That's why they're so common. That's why they're used so often. So let's backtrack, because in essence, what we've talked about are two different types of microphones. There are a lot to choose from, but a large diaphragm condenser, you gotta have it for vocals, and it can do everything from piano to acoustic guitar to drum overheads or drum kit as well. And then the dynamic microphone, like a Shure SM57, is great for the loud vocals, the loud drums, the loud guitar amps, anything that needs to handle loud signals. So both of those can be had for $100. So you're looking at $100 for a great vocal mic and $100 for a backup vocal mic / other instrument mic. And between the two, you can almost mic up anything, and you're only out $200 total for your mic locker. These are great places to start, whether you go with the Behringer B1 or the Audio-Technica AT2020 or the Samson or the Rode or the Blue or any other microphone in that $100, $150, $200 price range for the condenser. And if you go with an SM57 from Shure, just one of those old faithful microphones, you can do some damage in your home studio on your vocals and your instruments. Now, before you go, if you have more gear needs, or you're looking for an interface or what software to use or speakers or headphones, or you need more microphones, I have the perfect solution for you. I've put together a home studio gear guide. Just go to StudioGearGuide.com. It's right there. It's just a PDF you can download and you can print up, put on your desk, or you can just have it on your phone or just have it in your Dropbox or whatever to reference when you want to go buy something or you want to see what I recommend for all those pieces of gear at different budgets. Maybe you want to spend more than $100 on a microphone. Maybe you can spend more on your entire studio. I've got microphones and interfaces and everything at different price points, all recommended with links to the actual products so you can see current prices. And these are all pieces of gear that I personally own, have used, or recommend because I like the company and I respect what they do and I trust them in sending you there. I also have complete studio setup recommendations. So if you don't even want to just pick and choose, you just want me to give you like a package, like here, if you were starting today and you could spend $350 or $700 or over $1,000 or whatever it is on your studio, here's all the stuff I would get. It's all there at StudioGearGuide.com and it's a free gift to you. It might help you in your journey if you're newer, getting ready to build and buy and set up your home studio. I don't want you to buy stuff you don't need. I don't want you to spend more money than you have to. I'd rather you get what you do need, learn it, use it, and make a great record. There you have it. Those are my recommendations for what microphones you need for your vocals and instruments. Hope this has been helpful to you. Check out the Studio Gear Guide. Subscribe to the videos if they're helpful to you. More like this on the way. For now, go make some music, have fun, because ultimately that's what this is all about.